Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining us here on America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Jeremy Baker and Dave Ross. 419-794-3030 is the phone number. It's 419-794-3030. You can go to the website as well. That is arhq.com. Don't forget, if you missed the first half of the show, you want to catch up on previous editions of America's Retirement Headquarters. Real easy to do. Just search for, in fact, America's Retirement Headquarters, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you consume your media. It's all there for you to check out at your leisure. If you went back about 2 years ago, you would hear us talking about I-bonds, which are tied to inflation, and how you could have gotten them back then in 2022 at a stellar 9.6% interest rate. And I remember there was a point where the government's website actually shut down because so many people were trying to get them in before the rates changed. Fast forward to today, those rates have in fact changed. Inflation has cooled. The rate now is 3.11%, which is down from just even 6 months ago when it was over 4.25%. So is it time to cash them in? And if so, is there a better place? Where should that money be put?
Making a decision about when to cash anything in. That is a ideal conversation to have with a financial advisor. You know, when you take a look at bonds and you look at I-bonds specifically, what people didn't realize was that the most you could ever invest in an I-bond was $10,000. I had people calling me when they first came out saying, geez, I'd like to put $100,000. I'd like to put $200,000 in I-bonds. And I'm going, now, wait a minute, don't get ahead of yourself. You know, the important thing to remember is that it is a moving rate, and it does drop when the government says they've got inflation under control. So now they're saying that inflation is indeed coming under control. I don't know about that, Jeremy. I go to the grocery store. I do a lot of my family's shopping, and I don't think the cost of groceries has dropped. In fact, I think it's still high. We still pay a pretty fair amount of money for a gallon of gas at the pump. So the government can say that they are controlling inflation, but I don't know if the average American out there trying to make their way in the world financially would agree with that. So do we cash it in? I don't know. You know, I think it's an individualized decision. If you sell an I-bond before 5 years, then you're going to pay a penalty. And Jeremy was talking earlier about how there are a lot of moving parts to owning I-bonds, like you have to have a bunch of passwords, a bunch of internet access to be able to check your bonds. And all I know is that I know some people that have them, and they were kind of pulling their hair out about how am I able to manage this thing? And quite honestly, it's not something we can help them with. Once they own it, we can just kind of give them the broad strokes of what I-bonds are. But I would say that at this point in time, if inflation is indeed dropping and the Fed continues to drop rates, then you're going to see decreasing interest rates on I-bonds, which there would come a point in time when I would say if you own one, you might want to think about selling it.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, you know, for most people, we talked about 2022. Currently, it's 2024, so most people haven't owned them for 5 years. The rates have dropped, and you know, with like Dave mentioned, with any decision, what you want to do as an investor is buy low and sell high, and avoid penalties. You want to avoid losing interest. There's a lot of things you want to avoid in that decision. So I guess the quick answer is I don't know. It's basically per individual basis. You know, thankfully those people weren't buying $100,000 to $200,000 worth of I-bonds, because imagine that poor decision would have been two years ago. Sure, they got the 7 to 9% interest off the get-go, but now you're looking at, you know, what, 3% now, even lower. So it's definitely something you want to take a look at, and you know, where you put the money, that again, it's an individual kind of, there's no kind of blanket statement that says yes, cash it in, and yes, buy this, or no, don't buy that.
And at one point in time, Charles Schwab was paying 5% on money market funds. So, right now, Charles Schwab might very well be paying a better rate than an I bond, and you have a daily liquidity in a money market fund. So there's no one correct answer, but that's why you need to work with us here at America's Retirement Headquarters, because we do develop plans for clients that are flexible and can change with the changing marketplace. And we don't do a buy and hold strategy. We work with you, and as we've said before, these retirement team action plans are customized. Yes, the parts are the same, but the numbers are totally factored in based on your situation.
And there may be time and place in someone's portfolio for something like an I bond, perhaps not utilizing those. Again, it really depends on your risk tolerance, what you're comfortable with, how much protection from the market that you'd like to have, but also still maintaining some degree of growth. It's going to vary from person to person. Yes, I'm aware that is a very fluid answer, but that is the truth of it. At the end of the day, you want what's going to work best for you. Maybe this is a place where that happens. Maybe it is using other strategies, but you don't know until you set up a time and start developing a plan with the Retirement Guys Formula, America's Medicare Associates, America's Retirement Headquarters. All you need to do to get started, go to the website arhq.com or give a call 419-794-3030.